do a walkthrough of how to create the miniature train assembly. And we're going to start off first by having an untitled design file open. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to have my data panel open where I can see all of my components where they've been saved. And I'm going to find the train body and I'm going to right click on it and select Insert into Current Design. Now this is going to place an instance of the train body into this new design file right at the origin. I don't want to move it, and in fact you're probably going to notice that there's like a little ground to parent option, which is going to be good. And I'm going to go ahead and select OK. So really what we want to do is to double check. You'll see a little anchor sign on the component block kind of icon here. You'll see a pair of chain links, and then you'll see the name of the train body. So that's what that's meaning is that this is linked to the other file that is here. So this is the original. If I click and try to drag on this, it shouldn't move, which is showing that that's grounded. So that's good. We don't want to have any of those kind of things going on. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, and I'm going to add an instance of a wheel by right-clicking on it and selecting Insert into Current Design. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and position this so I can click and drag on these arrows to help move and position this. So not only are the arrows available, but also these little circular grips to help me rotate. So I'm going to rotate this so that way I can see the back side of the wheel and go ahead and click OK. Where we're going to kind of use this here a little bit is up here in the Assemble panel. You're going to see that you have an option called Joint. And it should be one of the options here. It looks like kind of like a hinge kind of icon. I'm going to go ahead and select Joint, and what it's looking for is it's looking for component 1 and where do we want to pick on this particular spot. Now when we go onto the back of the wheel, there's a lot of little points that I can pick from. The one that I'm going to choose is I'm going to choose right here, and I want to make sure I get this dark circle that forms around the hole on the wheel, and you'll see we get a little joint origin chip. So the little joint origin chip, as I kind of move my cursor, hopefully where you can see, has a red line, a blue line, and a green line. And what that's referring to are the X, Y, and Z axes. So whatever I choose, we're going to align those particular points. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that circle. You'll see the joint origin stays there, and it kind of goes ghosted out. And then I want to move that component to the second one, which in this case is going to be the train body. So right here on where the wheel would go, in line with the hole for where the axle peg goes in, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pick the exact same thing, and you're going to see the blue lines are going to line up together. So when I click, they may even phase inside of one another, which, sometimes Fusion doesn't understand the laws of physics. But what I can do is over here in this menu is I can click the flip command and have it flip around that selection that I made. I'm going to go ahead and turn this to the front. We're going to go ahead and if you look, I can go do an offset too. So if I click and drag this arrow, I can either go into the train body or away from it. I'm going to go ahead and make sure it goes away. Notice how it does a negative value. So I want to change this. I want to add an offset to it of a negative 0.01. So I want to leave a little bit of room between the body. You can see probably like a little gap here. And what that is to allow the wheel so that way it doesn't rub and kind of, catch the side of the train body as it goes. I'm going to go ahead and select OK. And the other thing too is you'll probably notice up here in your relationships folder, if you hit the little arrow next to it, you'll see there's a joints folder. And I'm going to go ahead and click the little arrow to see that this right here says rigid 1. So right now, if I was trying to move or drag this wheel, it's not going to move for me because a rigid joint's like gluing two things together. I'm going to right click on this joint. I want to select edit joint, and either one of two things. There's a little mini toolbar that pops up here where I can click and pick different types of joints. So in this case, I want a revolute joint. I can also find the same motion here in this motion tab in the menu, change revolute, and you'll see a little preview of the motion that's being applied. And the revolute joint is the spinning motion that we want, making a revolution. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and then select OK. You're going to see the name of that's going to change now to Revolute 1, and we're going to see that. I'm going to go ahead and leave this joints folder open. And what you're going to see is as we add more components and more joints, is that it's going to continue to expand. So I'm going to actually go up here. Now I could repeat that process for the other 3 spots on our train body, or what I can do is go up here to Assemble, and I can choose something called Duplicate with Joints. And so what I can do here is the first thing it wants me to pick are the components. Now I can actually pick the actual wheel, or I can go over here to the browser and pick the name of the wheel. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to pick the name of it from the browser. And then what it's looking for is what's the next point that I want to pick. So I'm actually going to pick, just like how I did before, I want to click on there's that one. It's going to add another duplicate wheel with a joint. I'm going to turn this over, and I want to do the same thing on the other side of the train body. And I'm going to put, so that way I have all 4 wheels on there, and I can go ahead and select OK. What you're going to notice is look at our revolute joints. Now we have 4 of them, 1 for each wheel, and I can go ahead and start to make sure things are going to look pretty good. So in order to kind of make this work, before you start clicking and dragging anything, go ahead and let's go to the assemble, and we're going to go to something called motion link. In motion link, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to see the little joints that are on here. It looks like little flag icons. I'm going to pick Revolute 1, and then this one is Revolute 2. So notice how I hover over it. It also highlights here in the browser. So if I pick those 2 wheels should turn at the same direction. Now, it doesn't really matter if they're turning forward or backward right now, but we'll see that those 2 are going to be turning in the same direction. In here, if I wanted to reverse them, this would get them reversed in the one turns one way, one turns another way. I'm going to uncheck that. I want them to both be turning in the same direction. I'm going to go ahead and select OK. There's one motion link. I'm going to go ahead and just flip over to the other side. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. Do motion link. Grab these 2 components. These are now turning in the same direction. That looks good. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn over to the other side here, and I'm going to motion link for a 3rd time. And I want to pick the first revolute, and I want to pick the second one. And then what you're going to see here is that these guys are going to kind of be like, you're going to see one of them's turning forward, one of them's turning backward. I'm going to check this reverse button. So that way then you'll notice these wheels are going to reverse to go forward, and these are still going to go forward, but they're going to be, notice the little pegs are going to be at a little different spot than what it was before. So I'm going to go ahead and select OK. And that's going to kind of get our train wheels kind of set up there. And what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to go ahead and this time I'm going to use my, we want to go ahead and add on the axle pegs because now we've got our wheels all installed. I'm actually going to hide the wheels. So by clicking on the little eyeballs, it's a little toggle to turn them on and off. They're still there. They're just hidden. But I want to go ahead and right click and insert an axle peg into the file. So you'll notice it'll probably show up right in the middle. I got to drag it out, and I'm going to go ahead and rotate it so then that way I can kind of see the underneath side of it. And I'm going to go ahead and select OK. I'm going to grab that joint command, and on the underneath side right here on this circle, I'm going to click, and then I want to go ahead and choose the hole, so much like how I did for the wheel. Now the offset here, I'm going to go ahead and drag this out. We want to do a negative 0.26 offset just to give it a little bit of room. You'll probably see a little bit of thread maybe even stick out, but that's what we want right there, is to be able to, the axle peg's going to hold the wheel on, and we just want to make sure the wheel is kind of covering up that hole, so we want to make sure we can get that. I'm going to go ahead and go to assemble, duplicate with joints. I can pick that axle peg, and then I can go ahead and again zoom in here. I want to make sure I pick it where I see it as a dark circle. You'll see another axle peg will pop in. Same thing here, and the same thing on this one. So a couple little tools there to kind of help make life a little bit easier. Now you'll go ahead and see that in the joints that were applied, it kind of has, they're going to start to kind of overlap each other a little bit, but we have rigid joints that are going to be applied to all 4 of those. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my wheels back on, and just to kind of see some of the fruits of our labor here just a little bit. On the Revolute 1, I'm going to right click on it, and I want to select Animate Joint Relationships, and then you're going to be able to see that, you know, kind of what our train looks like. So if you do the same thing on, like, maybe let's say Revolute 3, Animate Joint Relationships, you'll notice this one's moving forward. So that one's probably more the one where we want to work with. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and select cancel to stop the animation. And I want to go ahead and click on the name, and it's like a kind of wait a second and then click again. And I'm going to go ahead and name this Drive Me. You can rename any of these joints, but what we're going to do is we're going to rename the one that we want to where it kind of like drives and goes forward. All right, for this particular video, we're going to go ahead and end out here. And in the next video, we'll look at assembling all the other components and making sure that our train is animating correctly for, and eventually to put it onto our track.